All right, let's dive right in. Today, we're completely deconstructing something that sits at the very foundation of human achievement. We're talking about the anatomy of persistence. We're going to examine a really simple but incredibly powerful case study about a boy named Ian. And we'll use his story to map out exactly how the sheer stubborn act of just continuing to try doesn't just improve your odds, it literally fundamentally alters your human outcomes. Let's break down the mechanics of resilience. So think about this for a second. What actually happens when you refuse to stop? When all the data, the circumstances, and even the people around you are basically screaming that quitting is the most logical option, what is the psychological and practical result of pushing through anyway? Well, Ian's story is an absolute masterclass in finding that answer. Section 1. Starting from behind. Now, to truly appreciate a transformed outcome, we really have to understand the starting line. Ian wanted to be a great runner. It was this massive, ambitious goal. But his reality? Yeah, it was vastly different. He was a poor boy, living in a small village, objectively the slowest kid in his entire school, and people openly mocked him for his ambition. He wasn't starting with some natural, God-given talent or huge support system. He had a steep, genuinely hostile hill to climb from day one. And honestly, I'm sure many of you watching this explainer right now can relate to that exact feeling, when your reality just doesn't quite match up to your big ambitions. Section 2. The anatomy of failure. So, Ian enters his first race, and he is giving it absolutely everything he has. But halfway through, boom, he physically hits the dirt. He falls hard, and as he's lying there on the ground, he has to watch every single competitor pass him by. Turns out, the mockers were right. The gap between his dream and his reality was painfully, undeniably visible. Now, the urge to quit spikes right here. I mean, it would be so incredibly easy to just stay down, walk off the track in shame, and never race again, right? But he makes a choice. He stands back up, and he finishes the race, dead last. Section 3. Redefining the loser. How in the world do you recover from finishing dead last right in front of everyone who doubted you? Well, it requires a massive cognitive shift right at your absolute lowest point. When Ian was lying on that dirt, wanting to quit, he remembered something his father told him. Losing once does not make you a loser. Giving up does. Guys, this is the psychological anchor of our entire explainer today. His father brilliantly separated an event from an identity. Look, falling down is just an event. It happened. But giving up? That becomes your identity. In that fraction of a second, Ian realized finishing last wasn't the ultimate defeat. Quitting was. And look at the immediate impact of that mindset shift. When Ian crossed that finish line in last place, something completely unexpected happened. The crowd cheered. Not because he won, he clearly didn't, but because he refused to stop. This tells us something absolutely fascinating about human nature. We inherently respect raw resilience. We recognize how profoundly difficult it is to stand back up when it would be 100 times easier to just hide. By finishing that race, Ian earned their respect. But way more importantly, he proved to himself that he could survive his absolute worst-case scenario. Section 4. The engine of persistence. Now let's be real, the story doesn't magically end with one inspiring cinematic moment of standing back up. What followed was a grueling, totally unglamorous process that we can call the engine of persistence. Ian didn't become the fastest runner overnight. It was a brutal, continuous loop. Step 1, train every single morning. Step 2, enter more races. Step 3, and this is vital, he lost. A lot. There was zero instant gratification here. But step 4 is where the magic actually happens. Every single failure made him stronger. He essentially built a feedback loop where losing was no longer a deterrent, it was just data. It was fuel. He was literally running on the engine of his own failures. Section 5. The transformed outcome. Okay, so let's look at what actually happens when you run that persistence engine for a full year. Exactly 365 days later, Ian enters the exact same race. Remember year 1? He fell halfway, he was mocked, and he finished dead last. In year 2, he crosses the finish line first. He wins. The exact same people who were laughing at him a year ago are now literally screaming his name in celebration. And here's the kicker. The environment didn't change. The race itself didn't change. Ian changed. His choice to continuously subject himself to that loop of failure completely and totally altered his human outcome. Which leads us to this incredibly triumphant realization from Ian as he stood smiling at that finish line. He said, "Success doesn't come to the person who never falls. It comes to the person who always gets back up." And you know what? That isn't just some nice feel-good quote for a motivational poster. It's a proven formula. The person who never falls is simply a person who isn't pushing their limits. So, we need to fundamentally redefine success based on Aeon's hard-won wisdom here. Success is the act of continuously rising after a fall rather than the absence of falling entirely. Think about it. If your goal is to never fail, you're never going to try anything truly difficult. But if your goal is simply to never, ever stay down, you become entirely unstoppable. The fear of failure just completely vanishes because failure just becomes step 3 in that feedback loop we talked about earlier. To wrap this all up, here are the core actionable takeaways from Ion's journey that you can literally apply to your own setbacks right now today. First, never let failure decide your future. Remember, it's an event, it's not your identity. Second, keep learning. Every single time you fall, figure out why so you can run just a little bit farther the next time. Third, keep trying. You have to actively put yourself back in the race. No one is going to do it for you. And finally, never give up. Because honestly, as long as you are still moving forward, the outcome is still completely unwritten. I want to leave you with this final thought. Take a real, honest look at your own life right now, your own goals, and your own recent setbacks. Are you letting a single fall dictate your entire finish line? Are you mistaking a temporary stumble for the absolute end of the race? Because I am proved beyond a shadow of a doubt that the only way to truly lose is to stay on the ground. So what are you going to do the very next time you fall? Think about it. Thanks so much for joining me for this explainer, and I'll catch you in the next one. Keep rising.